Testing 1 2. Test. Testing 1 2. We got it. We got it.
Okay, Joan, you can reconvene the meeting. You're on mute. Oh, come back.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay. The meeting has reconvened. We'll carry on with item 1, public comments. At this time, members of the public may comment on any items not appearing on the agenda and within the subject matter jurisdiction of the Planning Commission Board. Individual comments will be limited to a maximum of 5 minutes per person, and each person may speak once during this time. Time cannot be yielded to another person. Under state law, matters presented during the public comment period cannot be discussed or acted upon. For record purposes, please state your name and city of residence, and please make your comments directly to the Planning Commission Board. Item 2 is consent calendar. All items on the consent calendar are to be acted upon by a single action of the Planning Commission Board unless otherwise requested by an individual Planning Commission member or member of the public for special consideration. Yes.
We do have somebody here who wants to make a public comment. Item number 1.
Oh, okay. We'll go back to item number 1.
Thank you. And then staff will make a comment after the public comment is over.
Okay.
Thank you, ma'am.
My name's Annabelle Gammon, and I live in Riverbank, the unincorporated area. I come before you tonight to comment on the Riverwalk specific plan and its draft EIR. Please forgive my mistakes. I did this in a rush today before I came. I would like to express the need for the following to be addressed in the draft EIR. Number 1, the DIR must include the Safe Passages Connectivity Planning, Riverbank, California, and I quote this: "The study was done by UC Davis, initiated in 2008 to provide guidance to management agencies on how to incorporate this ecological process into land use planning. This data set is one portion of the larger Safe Passages project and includes a linkage design for the City of Riverbank, a local municipality along the Stanislaus River that collaborated with researchers in order to better understand the ecological needs of their local region and to incorporate them into their local land use planning process. This final linkage design includes, number 1, parcels along the Stanislaus River that can either facilitate wildlife movement along the riparian corridor or provide habitat for resident species. Number 2, extensive, relatively intact grasslands and vernal pool complexes in the eastern portion of the study area. Number 3, agricultural lands that can support both food production and ecological needs for native species. This study was done by UC Davis, and the primary writer, I think, was Patrick Huber, Ryan Hill, and Stephen Greco. It is found online, and it's a very interesting study, and a lot of updates have been done. But this was very important in the past here in Riverbank. Your past planning director, J.D. Hightower, was very cooperative with the researchers, and I think we are very blessed with that. So now we can be more smart with our land use policies. So I hope that this will be part of the plan or the DIR. I hope they will consider this. And number two, I am requesting the outline of the tribal consultation process that the city has taken for the DIR. Stanislaus River was, the Yukon Indians lived there, as you know. Stanislaus was the Indian, and that was why we got the name Stanislaus County. So we have to have the correct process here, that it is really followed. I think it's AB 45 or AB 25. So I would like for that to be passed on to your consultants. Okay, Donna. And also, we are looking forward to the draft DIR. There's a lot of public that's interested in this project. I definitely am. We've been through a lot of projects that try to develop this area. So thank you very much. My name's Annabelle Gammon. If you want to contact me or call me, talk about safe passages or the tribal issue and other things, I'm very available. Donna has my telephone number. Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Gammon. Now, does staff have a comment?
Yes, ma'am. As we go into item number 2, there's something I would like to share with you. The public notice for the item that you're going to hear tonight, it was posted in the 4 locations that the city normally posts on October 4th. We did post the PC agenda 72 hours prior to the meeting, and it was on our website, and we sent the public notice to the newspaper as our usual practice. Unfortunately, the staff found out that when the notice was posted in the newspaper, a paragraph was left out that discussed this item, that gave the background on this item. We had a phone conversation with the city attorneys today, and they have determined that the city went through all the motions and moves that they're required to do to post for a public hearing, and it's not the city's fault that a paragraph was left out in the newspaper. Therefore, a determination was made to move forward with this item, and I just wanted to share that with you before we got going on this, that according to the city attorney, that the city has substantially met the noticing requirement of the public hearing. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, following up on that, we're going to move to item 2.1, which is posting of the agenda for the October 19, 2021 Planning Commission meeting, and item 2.2, which is approval of the October 19, 2021 agenda. I'd ask for a roll call vote on this.
Madam Chair, point of order, we need a motion on the floor before we can call for a roll call vote. And I move approval of items 2.1 and 2.2.
Thank you. Do we have a second?
I second.
Thank you.
Chairperson John Stewart,
Yes.
Vice Chair Steve Link,
Yes.
Commissioner John Diamond,
Yes.
Commissioner Natasha Basso,
Yes.
Commissioner Mallory Feinberg.
Yes.
Thank you. Item 3 is a Planning Commission public hearing. The public notice for item 3.1 was published on October 6, 2021 in the Riverbank News. Item 3.1 is a zoning ordinance amendment 01-2021, an ordinance of the City Council of the City of Riverbank, California, amending Riverbank Municipal Code Sections 153.003, definitions, and 153.325, accessory dwelling units by repealing these sections in their entirety and substituting them with new sections 153.003 and 153.325. Would staff like to pick up the further explanation of this, please?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Tonight you will be hearing a presentation from David Niskanen of J.B. Anderson Land Use Planners from Ripon. They have been working on this ordinance for us since the workshop that was held last month, and they took all your recommendations into consideration. Thank you. David?
Thank you, Donna. Members of the Planning Commission, David Niskanen with J.B. Anderson Land Use Planning. We bring forth to you today Zoning Ordinance Amendment 01-2021 related to accessory dwelling units. As a summary, the proposed zoning ordinance amendment is a staff-initiated proposal to modify the Riverbank Municipal Code to be consistent with state law related to accessory dwelling units and junior accessory dwelling units. The proposed ordinance amendment would do two things. First, it would repeal section 153.003, the definition section, and replace it with a new section to include definitions such as efficiency kitchen, junior accessory dwelling unit, and tandem parking. In your staff reports, there's the draft ordinance that includes the new section 153.003, but also a markup behind it so you can see where the changes are made specifically. The ordinance amendment would also repeal section 153.325, which is the accessory dwelling unit section, and replace it with a new section. Now, this is where we overhaul the section to be consistent with new state law, as well as include provisions for the creation of junior accessory dwelling units. Just to give you a little background on this item, as it relates to what the city has done in recent past, on October 24th, 2017, the council passed an ordinance amending the municipal code to regulate ADUs. Those amendments were enacted to comply with state law that was approved at that time. Since then, there's been a number of bills. For instance, in 2019 and 2020, the state passed several pretty wide-sweeping bills related to accessory dwelling units and junior accessory dwelling units. Specifically, state law passed laws effective January 1st, 2020 and January 1st, 2021 that modified the accessory dwelling unit government code as well as the junior accessory dwelling unit government code. The city, for this project, received a grant through the housing, through HCD, Housing and Community Development Department from California, to update the municipal code and prepare pre-approved ADU building plans that we showcased to you during the workshop last month. And just to give you a summary of the amendments to the code that are in your packet tonight, for the definitions, we update it to include junior accessory dwelling unit, efficiency unit, public transit, and tandem parking. The definition for accessory dwelling unit was already in there from the 2017 amendments, and that didn't need to be changed. That was consistent with state law. And then the more wide-sweeping changes were in section 153.325, which is the accessory dwelling unit code. And first, the new section clarifies where ADUs and junior ADUs are permitted, and also to allow the construction of ADUs to be permitted on existing multifamily dwellings per state law. And we also include provisions for that allow a single property with an existing or proposed primary dwelling unit to have an ADU attached or detached and a junior accessory dwelling unit. And that's related to the bills that were passed that became effective this year, January 1st, 2021. And then to make it a little bit easier to read and simplify the standards, we reorganized the development standards to separate the standards for ADUs and junior ADUs, so they're clearly distinct. So if someone's looking specifically for ADUs, they can find it in the code. And then we also added development standards for junior ADUs, specifically limiting the size to 500 square feet per state law, and then also including the requirement for an independent exterior entrance, an efficiency kitchen at a minimum, and require the property to record a deed restriction to prohibit the sale of a junior ADU, because the junior ADU is essentially in like a bedroom, converted bedroom inside the house. So state law requires that a deed be recorded on the property to restrict the sale of just that portion. As it relates to setbacks, the current code states that the setbacks is 5 feet. State law, the recent state law that was passed and that became effective in 2020, reduced that setback to 4 feet. And also clarified that if a unit is converted or accessory structure is converted, that no setback shall be required if it's converted in that same spot in like the backyard or on the property. And then we also added a utilities and impact fee section that includes the provisions for connecting to city sewer and water, and then also to make reference to state law as relates to impact fees. Like we discussed last month during the workshop, if the unit is under 750 square feet, the city does not charge impact fees. If it's over 750 square feet, then the city charges a proportionate rate in comparison to the primary dwelling unit size. And then we also added provisions that the ADU or junior ADU may be rented separately from the primary residence, but may not be sold or otherwise conveyed. And then we also included the provisions that no owner occupancy requirement can be imposed through January 1st, 2025. And last month we talked about the construction of detached ADUs and also manufactured housing being considered an accessory dwelling unit. We added provisions in the code that clarifies that a manufactured house can be used as an ADU, but only if they're installed on a permanent foundation and are at least 10 years old, as well as provide language that recreational vehicles like travel trailers, motorhomes, tent trailers, things like that cannot be considered as an accessory dwelling unit. So we're really focusing in on just manufactured housing only. And as previously discussed, the Planning Commission, we held a workshop with Planning Commission last month on September 21st, went through the new state law, the differences between ADUs and junior ADUs, went through some of the optional provisions that the city can provide as it relates to the size of a detached ADU when it's combined with a junior accessory dwelling unit. And then we also discussed kind of the proposed amendments that we were thinking of doing that we're presenting to you tonight. As it relates to CEQA, staff is recommending Planning Commission find that the project is exempt via section 15061B3, which is the common sense exemption, that CEQA only applies to projects that have a potential for causing a direct physical change in the environment or foreseeable indirect physical change in the environment. What we're doing here tonight is just providing regulations consistent with state law, not physically developing a property or anything like that. So that's how we're recommending Planning Commission find this project. And our recommendation tonight is to first conduct the public hearing and then approve a resolution to recommend the approval of an ordinance to amend Riverbank Municipal Code by repealing section 153003 and 153325 and replacing them with a new sections. And I'm available to answer any questions for you, as well as John in the audience, and then of course staff is available if you have any questions. Thank you.
Thank you. Do any commissioners have any questions or comments?
This is Commissioner Dinan. Just one thing I'd like to have clarified. When we're talking about add a provision that manufactured housing is permitted, will that include tiny houses that we discussed at the workshop?
That provision, yeah, it does include, well, by definition, the accessory dwelling unit section does allow for smaller accessory dwelling units. So in response, yes, it does. What we typically think about when we think about manufactured housing is larger than what would be considered a tiny home. But the ADU ordinance doesn't have a minimum square footage that you have to meet. So if you're if someone's looking to develop a 400 or 500 square foot accessory dwelling unit, which would be considered a tiny home, then they can do that with these provisions.
Thank you.
Anyone else? Do we have any comments from the public?
There is no one here from the public wishing to comment.
Okay, then I guess we'll close the hearing and ask for a motion.
Okay, let me find it here.
I can make the motion.
Okay.
I make a motion to approve Resolution 2021-018, and which is the approval of ordinance number. Actually, it is to amend the municipal code by repealing sections 153.003 and 153.325 and substituting new sections 153.003 and 153.325 is the motion.
Thank you. Do we have a second?
I second.
Thank you. Roll call vote, please.
Chairperson Stewart,
Yes.
Vice Chair Link,
Yes.
Commissioner Dinan,
Yes.
Commissioner Basso,
Yes.
Commissioner Feinberg.
Yes.
Thank you. Okay, we're moving to Planning Commission comments. Nothing? Okay, number 6, do we have any county referrals or correspondence or information?
Yes. Staff received the referral from San Joaquin County. They intend to create a new general plan designation of agriculture-industrial and new zoning of agricultural-industrial to address the shortage of truck parking that they have in the county and truck sales locations. Staff received it a few days before an answer was due and looked into the situation and did not provide any comments to the county. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, any staff comments or any other information?
Yes.
Project updates?
Yes. At the last city council meeting last Tuesday, the final map for Countryside 2 and the subdivision improvement agreement were approved by the council. And that is the only item that staff had on the meeting. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, anything else for tonight? Okay, this meeting is adjourned. See you all in November. Good night.
Thank you.
Been waiting to do that all night, right, Steve?